came a paperweight for $10. Luce wasn't outside. I walked down the block to where my pickup waited at the curb. I'd plugged my phone into the cigarette lighter socket. The Dodge was that old, and stuck it into the center console while I ran errands and scarfed a bowl of pho noodles for dinner. Out of sight and out of mind. One voicemail from an area code and number I didn't recognize. I hit the button to listen. "Van, it's Leo." Leo Pack, a friend from the 75th Regiment. I'd been his sergeant in our Ranger platoon during one of his tours in Afghanistan. Leo had served as a sniper and fire team leader during his time in our unit. He was a quiet guy by nature and had effectively led his team of 4 by example. I'd been disappointed when he'd rotated out of the company. Leo and I had fallen out of touch after that, until a year ago when he'd unexpectedly turned up in Seattle, only weeks after I'd mustered out of the Army. On the recorded voicemail, Leo was breathing heavily, his voice strained. There was a sound of quick movement before he spoke again. "They're coming. I can't make it." Whatever he said next was incoherent. An engine revved, high-pitched, a small motorcycle or something with similar horsepower. A muffled voice in the background yelled something like, "Get on the ground!" Then a sharp clack interrupted as the phone struck something, and another man's voice came on the line. "Who is this?" the voice demanded in between gasps for air. Had they been chasing Leo? "This is the Mercy River Police. Who is this on the line?" Another moment passed before the call abruptly ended, mid-gasp. I checked the time on the voicemail. Leo had called me almost 6 hours ago. Son of a bitch. I called the same number back, twice. No answer. Leo had been busted before, for vagrancy and once for assault. When he'd turned up in Seattle last year, he'd been drifting, sleeping in the wild, avoiding contact with people. Being indoors for even a few minutes had put him on edge. Desperate, he'd reached out to me. But before long, I was the one who had needed help. And despite his own pain, Leo had pulled himself together long enough to get me out of a bad situation. I searched online for Mercy River. The closest place with that name was in Oregon, in the rural middle of the state. There was no direct line to the town cops, but the Griffin County Sheriff had a station there. I called it.
"Sheriff's Department, Deputy Russa."
A woman, rough-voiced but sounding alert despite the late hour. "I'm looking for a man who may have been arrested in town earlier tonight, Leonard Pack."
"Are you a relative of Mr. Pack?"
"I'm the person he called just before he was busted. I'm in Seattle. Is he under Mercy River's custody or the county's?"
"He's here,"
said Russa.
"The town doesn't have a jail of its own. What is your name, sir?"
"Donovan Shaw. What's the charge against him? If he needs bail, I can help."
"Suspicion of murder and armed robbery," she said.
I inhaled. Jesus.
"Did Leonard Pack say anything to you over the phone about his situation?"
"He left a voicemail. What happened there?"
"We can't release any details without—"
"Just tell me what anyone in town would already know." Russa was silent for a moment.
"One of our residents was shot and killed yesterday, Earl Sharples. You can save yourself the trouble on bail. I guarantee you that the circuit court judge will keep Pack in custody at the arraignment later today."
Which meant the evidence was solid enough to make them confident that Leo was the killer, and the victim being a local would make things 10 times worse. "Has he asked for a lawyer?" I said.
"He hasn't asked for anything. He's not communicative."
So Leo wouldn't talk. Or couldn't. "Is he injured?" I said.
"He's being looked after."
A moment passed. Deputy Russa had volunteered as much as she was willing to say. When I spoke, my voice was as cold and even as a frozen lake. "If he's conscious, tell him that I'm on my way. I'll be there in the morning."
"Mr. Shaw."
I hung up before I said more. Christ, Leo. What the hell happened to you? I couldn't let myself believe that Leo had murdered someone. His life had turned around during the past year. I'd helped him get placed in an outpatient program and regular therapy after. Last I knew...